Tyler Henry became a household name by connecting celebrities with their deceased loved ones. At just 19 years old, he was reading for the Kardashians, bringing comfort to families torn apart by loss, and building a career most psychics only dream about. His gift seemed like a blessing that opened every door in Hollywood. But Tyler's story isn't the feel-good journey you might expect. Behind the cameras and celebrity readings lies a darker reality, one filled with medical emergencies that nearly killed him, a childhood marked by fear and rejection, and emotional burdens that most people couldn't imagine carrying. The same abilities that made him famous also isolated him in ways that still affect him today. What really happens when you can communicate with the dead but struggle to connect with the living? How does someone so young handle the weight of other people's grief while dealing with his own health crises? Tyler's life reveals the hidden costs of a gift that looks miraculous from the outside, but feels like a curse behind closed doors. Tyler Henry's psychic abilities didn't announce themselves with fanfare or mystical drama. They arrived quietly, unexpectedly, when he was just 10 years old living in Hanford, California. One day, he had an overwhelming feeling about his grandmother, a sense that something was wrong, that she was going to die. He didn't know what to make of these thoughts. He was a kid trying to understand why he suddenly knew something he shouldn't know. When his father came home and told him that his grandmother had passed away, Tyler was shaken. The prediction had come true, but there was no celebration, no moment of clarity. Instead, it felt chaotic and frightening. He couldn't explain what had happened or why he'd known. There was no instruction manual for a 10-year-old experiencing visions of death. This first psychic moment opened a door Tyler couldn't close. He started sensing things about people, emotions, messages, information that came to him without explanation. While other kids his age were worried about homework and friendships, Tyler was navigating a reality that most adults would find terrifying. He saw and felt things that set him completely apart from everyone around him. The problem was, Tyler lived in California's San Joaquin Valley, a relatively conservative area where being different wasn't exactly celebrated. His hometown of Hanford is a small agricultural community where everyone knows everyone, and standing out for having psychic abilities wasn't the kind of attention a young boy wanted. Tyler quickly learned that his gift wasn't something people understood or accepted easily. Middle school is difficult for most people, but for Tyler, it was a special kind of nightmare. He was trying to figure out who he was while also dealing with abilities that made him a target. Other kids didn't know what to make of him. Some were curious, but many were suspicious or outright afraid. In a community where religious beliefs ran deep, Tyler's connection to the spirit world was seen by some as something dark, maybe even dangerous. The religious environment added another layer of complexity. Tyler has talked about how opinions on his abilities were sharply divided. Some people viewed clairvoyance as a legitimate spiritual gift, something potentially from God. Others saw it as demonic, as something that went against their faith. Tyler found himself caught in the middle of these conflicting beliefs, judged by people who didn't really know him but had strong opinions about what he represented. He's described feeling excluded during his formative years, struggling to find self-acceptance when the people around him couldn't accept him either. While his peers were forming friendships and social groups, Tyler was often on the sidelines. The very thing that would later make him famous was the thing that isolated him as a teenager. He couldn't turn off his abilities, couldn't pretend to be normal, and he paid a social price for that. High school didn't bring relief. The skepticism continued, the misunderstanding persisted. Tyler remained different in a place that valued conformity, and that difference created an emotional divide between him and his community. He was present but separate, surrounded by people but fundamentally alone in his experience. This isolation wasn't just about being unpopular or not fitting in, it was deeper than that. Tyler was processing experiences that no one around him could relate to. He was carrying knowledge about death and the afterlife that most teenagers never think about. The weight of that, combined with social rejection, created a foundation of loneliness that would follow him even after fame arrived. The irony is striking. Tyler would eventually become famous for helping others connect with their lost loved ones, for bridging the gap between life and death. But during his childhood, he couldn't bridge the gap between himself and his peers. The gift that would later bring him acceptance and success was the same gift that made him an outcast when he needed acceptance most. Tyler's challenges weren't only social and emotional. From the very beginning, his body was fighting battles that most people never face. He was born 3 months premature, which meant his start in life came with medical complications and risks. That premature birth set a pattern that would continue throughout his childhood and into adulthood, a pattern of serious health crises that threatened his life multiple times. Over the years, Tyler has undergone multiple emergency surgeries. These weren't minor procedures or routine operations. These were life-or-death situations that required immediate medical intervention. Each one added physical trauma on top of the emotional and social struggles he was already dealing with. While building his career and dealing with public scrutiny, Tyler was simultaneously managing health issues that would overwhelm most people. The most serious incident happened shortly after his 18th birthday. Tyler was hospitalized with hydrocephalus, a dangerous condition caused by an arachnoid brain cyst. Essentially, a cyst in his brain was blocking the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, causing pressure to build up inside his skull. If left untreated, this condition can cause permanent brain damage or death. Tyler needed emergency brain surgery. Imagine being 18 years old, just starting to gain recognition for your work, and suddenly facing the possibility that you might not survive. Tyler underwent the surgery and thankfully recovered quickly. But the experience left its mark. He'd come face to face with his own mortality in a very real, very physical way. For someone who regularly dealt with death in his psychic work, this was different. This was his own death knocking at the door. But that wasn't the end of Tyler's medical battles. In May 2025, he revealed that he'd undergone another brain operation. This time, surgeons removed a colloid cyst located near the center of his brain. When Tyler talked about this surgery, he showed remarkable resilience, describing it as "not my first rodeo." That comment reveals something important. By this point, brain surgery had become almost routine for him. Most people never have one brain surgery in their lifetime. Tyler has had multiple. Think about what that means for someone trying to maintain a career. Tyler couldn't just take time off and disappear for months of recovery. He had clients depending on him, a television show, public appearances, and a reputation to maintain. He was managing serious medical crises while also managing a very public career. The pressure of that combination is difficult to comprehend.